Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Taboo Table.
I'm Jess.
I'm Lola B.
And we've got our lovely guest.
Ashley.
I'm Ashley. I'm one of the money medics.
Okay, so Ashley's joined us today to basically talk about money, one of my favourite subjects.
Money.
We brought Ashley on because, as she said, she's one of the money medics. Do you want to quickly tell us what the money medics are?
Yeah.
Okay, so the money medics, there's three of us, so we're a trio, and basically what we do, we focus on giving millennials all the tips and tricks they need to make good money decisions.
Cash
So
boiler.
budgeting, saving, investing, getting onto the property ladder. But I think one of the most important things is that when we give like guidance and support, it really is from like a lifestyle perspective. So obviously you take the information and then you make the decision that is right for you.
Amazing. Before we get into talking about money, which I know you guys can't wait for,
Let's do our little icebreaker.
we're going to do a little game with you, Ashley. Okay. Go on.
So, if you could never work again, like you've made all the money you need to make, what job? What's the one thing you think you would do?
Okay. First of all, you can never make enough money.
Yes.
But
You're paid.
what would I do? It's a hard one. I think I would probably pursue acquiring new skills. So I'd probably go to cookery school. I'd pick up things like maybe like some instruments like the piano.
Yeah.
I'd probably do a lot of charity work, I guess, like maybe with like children, animals as well.
Yeah.
I'd probably be more on social media, so I'd do like a lot of like social media experiments where I'm like giving money away, prizes away and stuff like that. Yeah, it's fun and interesting.
That's your
Yeah,
one.
that's
I think that's probably what I would do. Yeah.
That's such a good one.
That's really
What about
good. That's
you?
a lot. If money wasn't an issue, no one would ever see me again. I'd be hopping from country to country. I would want to explore every inch of this earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, if money wasn't an issue, I'd be living on a plane, to be quite honest.
Mine's quite similar. Like those hotel reviewers just testing out different luxury hotels and stuff. But I think I'll do a bit of charity work as well. So like
Me too.
like missionary and stuff, or working with like orphanages, just stuff that stuff that will keep me fulfilling
Give
stuff.
back and all
give
that.
back and stuff.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so our topic today is obviously about generational wealth, money management and legacy, and basically what our parents and the generation before have taught us about, building a legacy and looking after our money, making money, etc. Do you think our parents understood what legacy was and what generational wealth meant?
It's an interesting question because I feel like that understanding boils down to how they were raised. And I'll get into that a bit more. So like in terms of like maybe the generation before me, I'd probably say no. And like I don't think that was any fault of their own. I'm a first generation immigrant, so my parents, they were like, my mum was like born in Nigeria, my dad was born here, and then like they all moved here. So I think for them, what was like on their mind and like the most important thing to them was survival, settling down, building like a sort of like foundation for them, getting by. I don't think like what like the next generation or what money they're going to have is anything that came to mind. However, I went to school in Nigeria, so I went to a private school in Nigeria, and I went to school with a lot of like really rich kids, and I feel like for them, I feel like for and like their parents as well, I do feel like generational wealth, legacy, that was like a big thing for them. Because obviously, imagine like you're not thinking about like survival, how to survive, or how to make money. Like money's always been
all
there.
That time to
so are we saying then that like the idea of legacy and generational wealth is for those who are already wealthy or those who are already rich and can afford to think about the next generation?
I feel like they don't need to be rich, but I mean, like she said, they were just surviving. I feel like if you, first of all, most of our parents' generation, they were like oppressed, or our grandparents' generation, they were oppressed. I feel like they were occupied already mentally with things they had to do. So saving and building up wealth probably wasn't the first thing on their mind.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you in terms of like mental capacity, because obviously you're trying to like get your papers. Like when my mum first moved here, she was like a cleaner. Do you know what I mean? And her like biggest worry was getting food on the table, not like how much money am I going to save, or am I going to pass like the money on to my children. Like for example, like in poorer countries, the things that they think about is stuff like breakfast, lunch and dinner. And obviously when you move to countries like the, for example, where we live, we can think like, oh, what am I going to have for lunch 2 months in advance? Because obviously we have the mental space and the capacity for that. So it is definitely about like what you're going through currently in the situation.
And what you were saying about your mum, like coming here and starting a job as a cleaner, like my mum was, she worked in a care home. And even just, I feel like the little money she was making and living as, you know, a single parent, she was still required to send money back home.
Mine was as well.
And for me, I was like, you're barely, she wasn't thriving or anything, she was just barely surviving, and the fact she was still expected to send money back home to help other members of her family, that's a heavy burden.
I think that story is pretty the same story that a lot of us have kind of grown up knowing. It's the same thing. Immigrants, they come over and then they're trying to, you know, work to survive and do better for themselves, and then somehow they're still managing to look after like a whole family. They're paying for people's schools, they're paying for people to, you know, to live, to eat, to, you know, have businesses and that. And so what I think is quite remarkable is, like, for instance, my parents, they were able to build homes back home from the little that they were making as cleaners, as taxi, you know, drivers, etc., and get mortgages here. And you know, I don't know, has it got anything to do with, were times easier for them then? Because we're sat here, we're our parents' age when they started, and for me, it's such a big mortgage for us is such a big issue right now. I know obviously you've bought your house already, and how did you kind of come from having parents that, you know, were trying to survive to you kind of thriving on your own?
I think the one thing that I can say that when it comes to mind that I really picked up in like my household is that hustler mentality. Like if there was no money, you find a way to get the money by any means necessary. So I grew up in the council estate. I grew up in East London, Leighton. We moved around between Leighton, Leytonstone, Walthamstow. Eventually my parents bought like their council house in Walthamstow. I think that was like the first property that they bought, and then slowly after that we actually moved into Essex. They bought like another house, and even at that, like my mum had like a good job, like my dad was a businessman, so I guess I slowly saw them go from like maybe like struggling to like almost like making something of themselves. I really do feel like my eyes really opened again when I went to school in Nigeria. That was like...
Where did you school?
So I went to school called Green Springs in Lagos. So I went to school with like presidents' children, children like their parents own banks. Obviously, you know that Nigeria is a cash economy, so they were like cash rich. You'd go to their houses, like big massive, mansions. Big houses. You know, it was like, oh my God, like... So when I was there, I was like, wow. It was just...
She's like, I want this for myself.
Do you know what I mean? It's different.
It is. Africa will do that to you. And people have no clue.
Because like growing up in East London, like in a council estate, obviously when you think of black people, I didn't know or see any blacks. When I went to Nigeria, it was like, oh my God, like, wow. So that really inspired me. And I know that, for example, like Nigeria is not the easiest place to make it in. They're very like strong. Again, they have a hustler's mentality. So I know that like the fact that, you know, I live in the UK, I know that there are like glass ceilings, like institutional like racism and like obviously like misogyny and stuff like that. But I can still overcome it. Like there's nothing, like we don't have absolute poverty in the UK. Like if I like going there made me understand and believe that if I want to do something,
you can do it.
There's nothing
I feel like
that can get in the way.
Living back home, it makes you, I feel like we're more content in the UK. Like when you're around, like you see poverty every day, but at the same time, that can be right next door to a mansion. It's just a different level of hustler mentality instills in you.
Yeah, so then I'm like living at home. In terms of like I'd always wanted to own my own property because that's like what my parents had done. So I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like we never like had the talks that, oh, you should be saving, you should be saving towards your own property. Yeah. I just knew that it was like a dream and it was a vision, just something I wanted to do.
When did you know? Because not everybody goes to Africa and gets inspired and sees big mansions and whatever. So when does it click that this is the time for me to start saving? And when you started saving, you went hard. Like I've heard you talk about what you were saving compared to what you was living on. I was like, okay, I don't know how many people can relate to that. Can you kind of share a bit about like what you were saving and what you was spending?
Okay, so first of all, when I was at university, I was like really bad with money, like bad, like to the point where like sometimes I couldn't even afford to eat. Do you know, it was bad. It was really bad, and I was just like, this possibly can't be my life. Like I think I was just fed up. So like and I'm like a really restless person. I love multitasking. I can do like a million things at once. So in my 4th year of university, I picked up 3 jobs.
Wow.
So I worked in the library, and then like I was like an ambassador for like both like my universities.
While you were doing a dissertation?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just how I am. Like I can't focus on. I always have to have just a few things going on.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then at that time I got some sort of scholarship grant, and it was like. That was like the most money I'd ever received that belonged to me. So it was like 2,500, and I was like, oh my God, I really don't want to spend this money. Let me see if I can save it. Let me get a job. So then I was saving like a couple hundred here and there, and I was like, I kind of told myself, hey, do you know what I'm gonna do? Instead of like leaving university broke, I'm gonna like leave university with some money. So that was just like kind of like the little goal that kind of sparked it. Good. I also had started investing when I was at university, just like playing around, and then. When I left university, I just told myself, I don't know what it was, I was like, I have to buy a house. And the kind of like the ballpark that I gave myself was, I'll save like £10,000. I didn't really know like...
You had no clue,
I knew nothing, like how much deposit I needed and whatever, but I knew that let's start with £10,000. So I was doing like my pre-reg training to be a pharmacist. I was on like £18,500, and I knew that to be able to get to £10,000 in a year, that was like 840 something pounds.
Monthly.
So I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna save that, but then I need to make extra money to be able to live. So then what I did was I bought my travel for the whole year, and that money was from the money that I left university with. And then also what I did is I took up tutoring. So I would like do my pre-reg.
You were hustling.
Yeah.
It's inside game.
That was inside life. That's a lot. That's a lot.
I would like work Monday to Friday, and then I would do tutoring Saturday to Sunday, literally 6 a.m. till like 8 p.m.
Did I hear you right when you said you were saving like £1,000 and living off £300?
Yeah. Hello? Obviously, my travel was paid for.
But in uni, you can't. No, actually, you said you left uni, right? You had left uni when you were saving.
Yeah.
Well, thinking about that, just leaving uni,
you
could probably do that. She didn't have rent to pay.
No, I was still paying rent.
Oh, you did?
I was still contributing at home. No.
But I'm just trying to wrap my head around £300.
But you have to think about it, right? This is like what 5 years ago.
Right.
You're living in a completely different time.
That's true.
5 years ago, social media wasn't really popping off like that, so there wasn't really like the social pressures of that. Like for example, like you did like. It wasn't about like dressing nice. Like there wasn't no like pretty little thing.
Yeah.
All there was Primark. You know what I mean? Nobody was wearing wigs. People weren't doing makeup. Like for example, that whole year I had my natural hair. I had one wig for the whole year. I didn't go on any holidays. I wasn't going out.
Even the premium 2 days were expensive.
Yeah. So it was a completely. There weren't those expectations. I didn't have to look a certain way. I didn't have to go to certain places. So I could like comfortably do that, and I didn't feel inferior or anything like that. Yeah. But now I feel like doing that now will be
much harder.
There's a lot of distractions. A lot of distractions.
And you said no one really taught you about investment and investing. So that's something you picked up on your own just because you wanted a house.
Literally, yeah.
Can I just say though that I mean it's good and I think it's powerful, and you've done such a great job in that you were able to come to a point where you decided to take control of your finances and your money. But I do think there's a lot of us that were stuck kind of in households where even if we knew we wanted to, you know, do something or earn something, one, we didn't know where to start, and then two, for me personally, there was almost sort of like a resistance and a barrier that I had to come kind of, you know, try and get through, because where I was staying at home, do you remember EMA days? Does anybody remember EMA? EMA from...
I remember in college.
Right, so the moment EMA came out and my dad knew that there was £30 that I was receiving, I was cut off. There was not a single penny, there was no money for travel, there was nothing. And then when we got to uni, the moment that you knew that you was getting a grant or something,
it's like, use that money.
It was like, use that money, help me pay this in the house, pay for this, pay for that, pay for that. And I think this is where I always bring culture into it, because I know there's a lot of people like us, that look like us, from the same kind of backgrounds, that had those restrictions, for instance.
Yeah.
And then I know that other cultures, they would have never had to pay a dime towards the house. They were given the freedom, the space, the time to kind of...
And they were still giving... I had friends that were still giving pocket money on top of their...
On top of
I was
that.
expecting... I think half of my grant I was using to pay, like,
I was
some of
helping,
my rent.
Yeah, I was helping my... You know, I was helping my mum do this and that around here. So it was almost like, even if I had the head to save and to bank my money,
you were expected.
I couldn't, because I was expected to help out in other ways. And I think the pressures that sometimes comes from these households, it's a lot. It's a lot, and it does kind of hinder us from progressing financially and investing and giving that free space to put our money where it needs to go.
Well, I mean, that's like our parents as well, isn't it? Like what we were saying earlier, that they're expected with what they earn, the little they earn, just because they've made that breakthrough into another country now, they're expected, okay, now come and help home. But I'm like, everyone knows that when you move to, like, your first generation immigrant, when you move to a new country, you have your own struggles, adapting to where you are, being a single mom, you know, working 2-3 jobs, night jobs, cleaning, cab, whatever you're doing. And even that struggle, you're still struggling, but expecting to help those back home struggling. It's just that mindset, like, we're trapped in.
So do you think that we should, you know, how old are we when we're in college? 18? 16, 17. Do you think we should be paying rent? Living in our parents' house? Truthfully.
I think I do believe that when you start earning money, I do believe in, like, contribution. So as soon as I, like, got, like, my first job, I would pay, like, I wouldn't call it rent, but it was a contribution in proportion to what I earned. I do believe that you should do that, and I feel like that kind of gets you into the habit of, like, being able to pay bills. It's some form of responsibility.
Did you ever feel like there was expectancy of you to pay?
I had to.
You had to. There was
like,
no
I've like, in this entire, since I've started working 5 years ago, I've never missed a month of not paying. And if I did miss it, I'd have to pay it the next month in addition to what I had to pay that month. Never missed it.
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like you maybe have that mindset because you had to. Whereas I feel like I feel like there's other ways to teach your kids to be financially responsible. So you, like, you give your son chores.
It's not about a lesson.
That's not about a lesson. That's about helping out because they're tired of paying rent.
Exactly.
You know, and you can do chores like, hoovering or doing whatever, help out around the house, just little, obviously you don't want to be making money and be yamming out your parents' food and groceries. You can help out, but I feel like that whole expectation of us having to pay rent so young, it's what?
But sometimes they genuinely need the help.
They do.
You know, like I totally understand in terms of, like, the chores, but if, like, for example, the contribution that I make is, like, the difference of, like, me living on the street, then I have to make it. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think they would ask for it if they didn't need it. I do think they need it, and that's why they, it's almost like, well, you have to. There's no choice. But I think we miss out on, giving our children, like, a start ahead when we do that to them. For instance, I think, for me anyways, I've got a child, so I thought ahead, and I'm thinking to myself, I've managed to be paying my bills all this time without my child's help.
Yeah, that why now?
Why now? If my child gets to 18 and they start having dreams and ambitions and things like that, for me to now say, now that you start earning, give me back this. I almost feel like, let him go out and spread his wings.
And then come
go
back
do your
to
thing.
help,
There are, right now, there are, like, self-made girls all over Instagram, self-made men all over Instagram that have put a bit of their money to a business and it's blown, and they've bought their parents' houses, they've bought out their mortgage, they've bought out their cars, and I'm thinking, I would love to do that for my child. Give him the freedom, go fly. When you are ready, I know you're going to come back because you know your mum's looked after you.
100%.
We all know that. Do you understand? If we had money right now and we could do for our parents, we would finish. Do you know what I mean? We would finish their houses. We would give them back tenfold. You know,
and we were talking about back home, I thought it's different from the parents that come to live here. Back home, you're not expected to, you know, your parents even pay for your wedding. They look after their child right up. I know families that are, you know, they bought them their first house post-marriage, like, you know, helping them. And I feel, why is it when they get here or America, it's like, okay, now you need to help pay rent. It's just such a different...
It's interesting because at the same time, when you go back home with like the poorer families, okay, the children are helping, but then with like the richer families, like even I know that I knew someone where she got married and like the husband's mum would give them like a monthly stipend as a couple. I think like it depends on like
your
how much money
you're making.
Definitely know how much money they have.
How do we start teaching kids or teaching our kids about wealth? Because I mean, there is a difference. Would you say there's a difference between riches and wealth?
Yeah. I think rich, that's like, not that it's temporary, but it's like confined between like just maybe a set time. But yeah, I think wealth is ongoing. And I also feel like wealth, for me, when I think of wealth, I think of like passive income and not
making
having to like do something to or physically go to a place like to make money. And I feel like wealth, it transcends, it goes from generation to generation.
I watched this video about this Chinese family. I think he owned in America, he owned a block of estates, and then in that estate he was teaching his youngest, I think was between like 5 to 8, and I think he was in control of like the mailbox room and collecting, I can't remember what it was, but collecting money. So that just interested me of teaching. That's how I would like to teach my kids from young, how to build their own money, have their own savings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm the same. So I feel like where I didn't get taught about money at all, and we've all kind of had to find our way, I've kind of started introducing little things, and I think it's so important at such a young age to start building. It's not when they hit 18 that you start telling them to save, because saving is not easy. It's not something that's innately built. And so you need to, you need to get there.
Were you taught to save?
I never
were
knew.
You taught to save?
No, I'm just saying 18 because that's when we're adults. I never knew even at 18. It's in my late 20s that I was like, oh, I'm gonna need some rainy day cash. Do you know what I mean? There are people in their 30s that don't have rainy day cash.
I remember actually being good at saving because I love just looking at, you know, my piggy bank. My piggy bank was the one that would stand up, so I just like to see through and like, I'm collecting all of this. So, you know, like back in the Abbey National, before it was the ATM card, you have this little book. But I feel like even when people like birthday money, like here's £50, that wouldn't be in my account. I never even see that. My mum would be the first one to be like, who bought you the clothes that you're wearing? But I feel like with that, you could have let us keep the money and be saving. You know, that would have taught me definitely. If I saw my money build up, 100%. I think that would have put in the back of my mind. You never want to be broke.
That's a great point. My son is the same. Like right now, he values coins over paper notes, and I'm trying to let him understand that this is where the money is. Do you understand? He loves to see coins, but when he gets paper, he's just like, oh, I'm just like,
it's boring.
Yeah, no, you're getting it the wrong way around. But he's the same. So he's got like a piggy bank, and I've also bought him a wallet. Yes. And then what I do is I'll take him to trips to the bank so he can actually deposit. And he loves that whole idea of seeing the numbers on the computer. And I think this is how we need to, you know, build it into our children, so that by the time that they get to an age where they can go by themselves, they're not behind. They already have the mindset that this is accumulating. This is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Have you ever been excited looking at your account growing? Like,
African parents, if we can talk about money as much as we talk about marriage. When are you getting married? When are you getting married? If we talk about are you saving? Are you saving as much as we talk about marriage? I think most of us will be rich.
We'd be ballers. 100%.
But
do you ever like feel pressure because, you know, yes, our parents were sending money back home, but actually when I look back at my own parents, they've done incredibly well. They weren't even earning half of what we were earning in the beginning, like
and they were
14, 15, 16K they were earning back in the day when they came over, and they were doing cleaning and all these chores. But like I said, they've managed to build homes back home and whatnot. Do you ever feel pressure that, like, if my parents did so much with so little, what am I doing now?
do you?
I don't feel pressure. I don't feel the pressure at all. I think one thing that like I know is that where like they've come, so for them they've like come, they've settled, and they've like kind of built something for themselves. I think for us now, I feel like we kind of have to take that step further, and it's just ownership.
Right.
To be honest with you, I don't feel any pressure to like do anything like that, to be honest. No.
I used to feel pressure, but I feel now the way I think of it is that our parents were used to having so little, so when they did get that more, even though it was still little, they knew how to save it.
Right.
And I feel like we just haven't
We're a bit
had
spoiled.
that. Yeah, we're a bit spoiled, a bit.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I did feel the pressure. Now I'm just like, if I was in my parents' generation with the hustler mentality that I have, I definitely would have
Been doing the same.
Yeah, been doing the same. I just think it's harder in this economy. But I wish, I mean, I save quite well now. I just wish I started this whole saving thing
earlier.
And yeah,
I think it's definitely a
flourishing.
mindset thing. I think it's not even sometimes about like the money, it's about like forming the habit, and that's why I guess why it's so important to start young.
100%, yeah. I used to be in the habit of knowing that I was going to get paid, so therefore I'd have to finish what was what was there before the next paycheck, basically. The other thing that for me, when I was growing up, obviously I lived in Africa like yourself, and so it's like I could see my cousins and their lifestyle compared to the lifestyle that I had back home, and so for me there was always a bit of guilt when I would be here to send money back like my parents did. And for a while my mom tried to rope me into that. It's a bit of it's bondage. I'm going to say it's bondage, because she used to on a month be sending £40 to this person, £50 to that person, and then they started to, I remember when I sent my first bit of money back home, and then it was almost like ring ring, oh my daughter's sick, oh this person's going to school, and then I started falling into the trap of sending money, and then I was just like, this is not going to work. I'm not going to be able to do anything if I continue to look after other people. So I think for me there was always a bit of guilt growing up in that type of environment, to be like, I don't know if you guys have family back home.
No, we do. I do.
Yeah,
you do feel really guilty. You do feel really
I always
guilty
feel
sometimes.
guilty about how I spend my money, and I'm thinking, why? It's there in my savings. Should I not be sending it? No.
That sounds so like no.
She said sometimes you have to like.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't. The moment they see you do it,
the moment you help, they have the assumption that there's more where that came from.
Yeah.
Not that, okay, this can be my last £20 I'm actually giving you.
No.
There's more where that came from. And I just thought, putting your foot down, staying focused, and then coming back to help. I feel like you can't help.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time where you felt like, for instance, when I was growing up, and you'd be asking for money from your parents and they swore there was nothing, however they were still able to feed, and not just feed but pay for people's school and send money for people that were able-bodied and were able to work? Like my mom's got big brothers, muscular brothers that could have been working, but she was always sending money to look after them.
That's the thing. My mum, I just feel she got into that trap of not being able to say no. And like I said, a single parent household, you're saving families that are still married. They come to our house to have kids, and you're they're living off of you
money.
Basically. Whereas I felt like if she had saved that for me and my brother, we would be doing.
I'm sure you've got a couple ventures that you would have wanted
so much more. Helping her family with schooling and all of that. It takes so much more of your time and resources that I feel like she could have put into other things, but I feel like she just felt that sense of guilt that she had to help family, or she has to help this one come and school here, and I was like, no.
I think it's interesting that you say that, because I'm trying to kind of put myself in their shoes, and I feel like maybe I think to them it's like it is enough that you are in the UK.
Right.
What more do you want me to do? That's enough. I've brought you here.
Yeah,
that's enough.
They've done
Do you know what I mean? Done my bit. You live in this house. I give you food. That is more than enough.
That's so true.
But then it's also that assumption that because you live in the UK, because you live in the United States, you must have money. Yeah. And sometimes I see us struggling more than my family's back home.
But you know, that is 100% true. And I think they've got it the wrong way around. Because we're here, we must be doing better, quality of life, etc. I just want to address the whole idea of foundation and set a foundation for us, etc. If our parents are not going to give us, how do we build our own foundation? Because they've obviously come here, they've done their bit. I feel like they feel like what they came here to do in terms of when their parents sent them abroad and to make money, to send money back home, to build houses, whatever. So how do we, as you know, millennials and you know new generations, start to build for ourselves now?
Saving as much as you can. Listen, if sis could live off of £300, we can live off that £300.
But you know what?
What are you spending with that £300 quickly, by the way?
I do meal preps. I used to do meal prep with my brother. We spend like £7 a week on food. What did I do that
£7 a week? That's £1 a day.
Yeah, like we know because we share it. So it's £14 in a week. So it'll be like £7 each week. What did I use that money for? Because you have to remember.
Did you have a phone?
Huh?
Did you have a phone?
Yeah, I paid my phone bill. Yeah, my phone was like £18 a month or something like that. I had like no bills. Maybe I had like £18 a month. I had like a gym membership.
You even had time for gym.
I think we can do it now with like what, 500-600.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I had like I paid my contribution. Obviously, remember back again. There was no Netflix. There was no. There's none of that.
I keep forgetting this was just in the last couple of years that all of these things.
Everything was just going crazy. There was none of that. Like
saving,
investing.
Also, we talk about investing
and ownership. I think it's interesting. I feel like saving to an extent, but I feel like one of the biggest the biggest thing that we should be focusing on is making more money. At the end of the day, you can't save yourself to wealth. You can't save yourself to riches. The habit of saving is great, especially when you do come into money. But and like, you know, cutting down your expenses, that's excellent, that's great. But it does get to a point where it's like you saving that £5 is not going to do anything for you, but you taking the time out to learn how to make that extra £1,000 is going to make more of a difference.
That's so true.
So it's definitely
that's
ownership.
Why they talk about multiple,
which I feel this generation is doing
very
amazing.
well.
They're doing really well.
I feel they're doing amazing.
How did we miss the mark so badly? Because I do feel like my younger sisters.
I feel social media's helped them.
Social media's helped you see that.
You're able to see.
We was just not aware. We was not aware at all. We just kind of just, you know, was just strolling through life. I don't think I even thought that finances would ever be a thing until, like, you know, when you reach your 30s and your 40s. I just never thought of it like that. But for whatever reason, this generation came out of uni. Some of them didn't even bother with the uni thing. They were just like, boom, I need to make money. They are so money hungry.
Because my first year of uni was when Facebook landed. And I was just thinking about when I went to like NatWest to get the bank, the student finance and everything. I had never seen that much money in my life, ever. So when like $2,000 of grant is hit my account, I'm like, wow. Like, I felt rich. I felt like, wow, this is, you know, you eat nonsense, you eat pizza, lunch and dinner.
That's where you want to go and buy dress
food is where my money went. Food, that's when, you know, you're going to Topshop, you're going to this, you're going to ACS, you're going to every single ACS event, whether it's Leicester's, whether it's Hartford, you're going to, you know, whereas now, I just think it's, hustler mentality. It's like, I feel like that money in business.
It's definitely social media. But to be honest, when you look at social media, it's like, you know how like you've got like the bell curve, right? What you see on social media is the extreme. So it's like the extreme positive 1% and the extreme positive negative 1%. And obviously, it's like everyone is aspiring for the extreme positive 1%, which can be good. And it can be and it can be bad. It can be good in the sense that, like, you know, it's very like motivating, like, you know, it's inspiring. A lot of people do benefit from it, but then it can be negative as well in the sense that if you don't, you know, become like the 1%, you feel like you're a failure. But then it's like I think one of the issues that not everyone sees what the 90 or 98% is doing.
Yeah. I mean, with your business, do you teach like making money that's comfortable? Like you should know in your head, like I remember talking to someone, you should know how much you want to make, you know.
To be
like
comfortable.
in your business plan, you have to put that how much is success to you, and just trying to focus on that and achieving that instead of watching, okay, well this person's making a million. I thought that helps.
I think it's really important for everyone to work. I think the word is retrospectively, to work retrospectively. Like think of like your dream life. What would your dream life look like? How much money does your dream life require? And I mean like on a monthly basis, right? So like let's say for example maybe my dream life is like I need like £10,000 a month.
So we need to be specific.
You have to be specific.
Very specific.
Because when you're specific, you can plan.
Right.
So for example, let's say like my dream life is like I need like a cash flow of like £10,000 a month, and that is enough to maybe live like in like my dream house. And obviously this is me, and then like by the grace of God, when I get married, maybe like my husband's cash flow will be 10 grand as well. That'd be enough to pay like maybe private school fees, a few holidays a year. And maybe I want to reach that maybe by the time I'm 40. So then I'm 27
the planning
now.
that's sometimes daunting, isn't it? For me,
daunting.
every time I hear plan, business plan, I say, I'm starting a business. But the minute you have to write a business plan, why do I have to plan stuff?
It gets scary when you start seeing the figures and you're like, then you realise, actually, I'm here and my goal is here and I need to be, you know.
But one thing I will say is like, as you continue to jump from circle to circle, you'll slowly believe that it is possible. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, planning is like, no matter how scary the figure may be, you have to start somewhere. And when you start somewhere, like day by day, month by month, year by year,
it will happen,
you will learn how to, okay, I'm gonna like reach the 1,000 mark. Okay, now I'm gonna do the 2,000. Now I'm gonna be the 3,000, and it just allows you to be creative. It does expand your mind as well.
So are we really the generation of self-made?
It's interesting that you say that, because I feel like we think that because of what we see on social media. We think that because of what we see on social media. Remember what I said? Social media is 1%.
Right.
But I remember I read like a statistic on Bloomberg Opinion, and basically it said that we are like the least entrepreneurial generation.
No. Are you serious?
Our parents have always been entrepreneurs, don't you think?
We're the least entrepreneurial generation,
Generation.
Because even if we were to look through the statistics, right, I'm pretty sure like in terms of the wealth, it is still taken up by baby boomers. A lot of baby boomers that have made our wealth, obviously they're not on social media, so we don't know.
We don't know,
We don't know. Do you know what I mean? We don't know.
Social media is just making everything look bigger and better
than it really is.
Whereas I guess they didn't have that exposure before that. So yeah, it is easy to fall into the belief that we are actually, you know.
And obviously, we already know that talking about money is like a taboo in our culture, but don't you think that aspect is hurting us? So like, for instance, let's say you got an influencing gig and I'm in the same field as you. Talking about money might help like us know where we should benchmark ourselves.
I think that's where things like Money Medics became so helpful for me. And I remember watching something on Instagram, and it was that just sparked me taking a very good look at my finances and making decisions. And it was a small thing, but it's been the best thing ever. So I think it was Eve at that time that talked about enjoyment fund. I'm not a party girl. I'm not a rave girl or whatever, but what I enjoy is buying stuff. Like I like spending my money on buying like accessories, bags and things like that. And so when I watched Money Medics, they talked about having a fund that is just dedicated to your enjoyment in life. So whatever you like to do, whether it's you like to go cinemas, you like to eat out, you like, you know, your dates, you know, earrings, whatever you like to do, you put it on one card. And that's when I found out about the Monzo card. And so every month when I would get paid, I take my enjoyment fund and put it there, and word for word, Eve said, when that money is done, your enjoyment is what? Finished. So I was like, really? So the first month, I blew that fund in a day. And I was like, oh, shit. Now I can't, there's nothing I can actually do. So then the next month, I had to stretch that a bit more and more. And then I eventually learned that this is actually manageable. I don't need to be dipping into my money and my saving, because when it's all on one account, one card, forget it. Did I know what I was spending?
Me money. That
was
my version
my
of me
whole
money.
account was me money. So I think that's where it's so helpful when we have things like Money Medics, because it does open up that conversation that unfortunately we're not having, but we so desperately need to have.
Yeah.
And it's the little when I think when it comes to finances and, you know, making money and keeping money and spending money, it's the little things that you can do to really get a grasp on your finances. And I think
enjoyment fund.
Everyone should. If you're not doing it already, I think you're so late and so behind. Like, there is no reason why you should not have an enjoyment fund. Just think of a figure that you need.
Usually it's about anywhere between up to 25%
of your pay.
Of your pay.
Yeah, so up to 25% of your pay, 10-25% of your pay. Obviously, how strict you want to be, it's up to you.
Yeah.
I give myself like 10%.
Yeah, I don't think
if I blow it in one day,
that was too much.
That's it. It's
gone.
2
seconds,
when you blow that money, it's like you're crying because you're like, wow, I'm a mug. I put my nail money in there, my everything, my hair, all of that, and then once that's done,
it's done.
I leave the card at home, like, you know, I've got no money.
That's once it's done. That's why if you have a bay, add to the enjoyment fund.
And when you call the sugar daddy, that's it, you know. That's when you start finding other resources, and then you start thinking, damn, I need to make more money if I want more enjoyment.
Exactly.
You know? So it
makes
works.
you think.
It does make you think. It does make you think. So yeah, we need to get rid of this taboo around money, and I think we should definitely, amongst your girlfriends, amongst your friends, amongst your family, money should be a very, very easy conversation to be having, and I think we need to instill it from young.
Even if it's like a monthly, like maybe around the week when everyone gets paid, like a monthly conversation with like your friends, have like a Zoom call.
Yeah.
You know,
so
if
how
like
much
you have
to save this month,
or how much what's it,
yeah.
we're trying to clear up, this is my goal, keep me accountable, or maybe this month we're focusing on credit scores. It could be like a 30-minute conversation once a month, maybe when you get paid, but it makes all the difference.
It does. I mean, I have a specific friend I used to just talk to, especially when it came to like credit scoring, because mine was so low. I'd never borrowed and stuff, so I was starting from scratch. I was like, yeah, these are the credit cards and that, and I was just that one friend. But when people talk about their credit score now, I'm able to like help them. But if you, like you said, if we have like monthly conversations.
I think one of the reasons why it's a bit of a difficult conversation, again, like usually your behaviour is based on like your experiences. So if like money was like a shameful topic, or whenever money was spoken about at home, it was like it had like a negative connotation. When you're older, that's going to like manifest itself, and it's going to be very difficult for you to talk about money. Also, then there's all those like obviously growing up in like an African household, all those like superstition things that you should never talk about money, the evil eye is watching you.
I mean, you don't need to talk about specifically how much is in your account.
And I think sometimes you need to start talking about it. So what's like one of the pieces of advice you'd give, because you own a house, your brother, who's also part of Money Medics, has bought his house recently. He's the most recent of you guys to buy his house.
No, it was me. So it was Eve, then it was Nick, then it was me.
Right, okay. So Eve bought her house. I've been to her house, lovely. Then Nick bought his house after they got married, correct?
No, before.
Before.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've obviously got your house. So that's the three of them that have bought their house under 30, right? So like people that are watching, I know, are just thinking, you know, buying a house is there's people out there that it's not even a reality.
You said they bought their house before they got married.
Yeah.
So even having these uncomfortable,
before the marriage.
Okay.
And I was always like, yes, well done. Get it.
The
man. Yeah, get it.
But even just with that, like having that uncomfortable conversation with your man before you get married, so you both understand how you are with money. I think that's important.
It's really like financial transparency. If you don't have it, that can destroy a relationship.
What kind of advice would you give to somebody, you know, that's probably the whole property ladder thing seems like a myth for them, which I know it will for a lot of people. But you've done it, and I know that it's possible for now. There's single mothers out there. There's people on low income. There's so many people. Like you said, we've all come from council estates that believe that this property thing will never happen for them. Like, what kind of advice would you kind of give?
I think 4 things. Obviously, like I said, specificity. So you have to be specific. It's not just, I want to buy a house in West London. So the first thing I'll always say is do your research. So yes, you want to buy a house in West London. Where exactly do you want to live? Go and look on Zoopla. Go and look on Rightmove. Find a house price. Once you, for example, let's say the house is like £250,000. usually where I would start off with is like building towards the 10% deposit,
Right.
which is what, £25,000. So now you know to yourself that, okay, I need to save £25,000 to at least start my journey towards saving towards a house.
Yeah.
Next thing is you need to figure out like what is your time frame. Do you want to do this in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Once you do that, obviously like you'll divide the amounts. Let's say you want to buy a house in 10 years and it's a £25,000 deposit. That's like what, £2,500 a year, right?
Right.
Next thing, usually what I usually recommend after that, like you found the house, you found out how much deposit you need, go and speak to a mortgage broker.
Really?
Yeah, always. That's like
Even
the
when you
best
don't have
decision I
your
made.
deposit.
Go and speak to a mortgage broker. So, for example, because I didn't know much information,
Yeah,
right? So when I had saved my deposit when I was on like $8.5 grand.
Sorry, can you just look at the camera and tell them that? Because I think people feel like they got to be on 50k before they can start thinking about saving to buy a house.
You don't.
So 18k, you can start saving 18k, Ashley.
You can.
Okay.
Obviously, and then what happened is that I qualified as a pharmacist. I got my first job, right? And I thought, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go buy my house, cool, whatever. No. I went to the mortgage broker, and he literally plainly said to me, "You will not earn enough money."
Right.
So if I had not spoken to the mortgage broker, I wouldn't have quit my job. So literally, when I spoke to him, I quit my job. Like, handed my notice 3 months later, I got a new job.
Wow.
And obviously, whereas like I got the new job, I had already had the deposit. As soon as I got the job, I started making the application. So like I would say, like you can save the money. Don't wait until you've got like the fancy job. Save the money first. Once like you figure out like how much deposit you need or how much like the salary multiplier you need, you need to work towards that. So for example, just going back to what I said, if for example you know that you want to buy a £250,000 house, you know that the bank is only going to lend you 4 times the amount. So you have to have a certain salary. So you need to think to yourself, what kind of career moves do I need to make to be able to reach that? Or am I looking to get married? How much money does that person need to be making for us to achieve that? Or for example, do I need to increase the deposit? How much extra do I need to make? And let's say for example, you know that based on your salary, you can only squeeze, let's say you need to save £800 a month, but you can only squeeze like £300 a month. You need to get creative. So do you need to cut your expenses to come up with the extra £200? Then for example, do you need to start a side hustle so that you can come up with the extra £400? You have to be as specific as possible. Do you need to work towards a bonus? Do you know what I mean? Be specific. That's really important.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so
your goal seems more
vision,
realistic.
you look at the vision, you look at what you want, and then you kind of now start mapping down.
Work towards it. Or do you need to buy a cheaper place? Maybe the house in West London is not going to happen right now.
Hey God, it's me again. It's me again.
And if all else fails, sugar daddies are better. No, I'm joking.
Hey.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's really fun.
Yeah,
really good.
I think a lot of people are going to obviously be able to benefit from this conversation and just learn how to open their mouths and just talk about money.
And maybe we can bring you on next year and compare and see
where we are.
See,
look at how, you never know
how it's going.
It's me again. Listen.
Can you plug yourself and just tell them where they can find like Money Medics?
So where you can find us on Instagram at Money Medics, so MoneyMedics, and then you can also visit our website www.moneymedics.co.uk.
Get your money.
Really check them out, guys. Money saving tips and going up the career,
you name it.
Investments and
property ladder,
all that good stuff. Thanks for watching.
Bye. Bye. Hi guys. So as you know, we always ask our lovely guests to leave us with a few words at the end of the show. And lovely Ashley said, you should be able to bear the consequences of every decision you make, good or bad. I love this one and I completely agree. So as you already know, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. See you next time.